everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Jenny Meyer. This is Consider This. And I was thinking the other day of Wayne Dyer, which, if you haven't heard of him, wrote many books. Good guy, great guy, liked his stuff. And there's a phrase that he used to say called, "You'll believe it when you see, or you'll see it when you believe it." That's what he used to say. Because you know what the real phrase is? Like, the phrase is, "I'll believe it when I see it." That's what people say. Here's the problem with that phrase. It actually isn't how your brain works. Like, at all. And there's nothing mystical or magical about this. It's literally a psychological, biological process in the brain. And it's not how it works. You actually don't see things necessarily before you believe in them. Sometimes you have to believe in something before you actually become aware of it. There's a great social experiment once with people watching a television screen, and they're primed in some kind of way. I'm going to have to look it up. I'll put more information about it in the description, but they're primed in some kind of way to watch this short little video. And so they watch the video, and then at the end of the video they're asked if they see the bear. And they're like, "No, I didn't see a bear." At some point in the video, a bear crossed the screen. Nobody saw the bear because they weren't looking for the bear. What they were looking for was something else. And so their brain, the reticulating activating system in their brain, had said, "Okay, this is the only information that's important in this video, so this is the information that we're going to find." And then the brain found that information, and they were able to recall that information with no problem, but nobody saw the bear. Going to be there. Who would think that the bear would be there? It was a completely unrealistic thing to think that would happen. And that's how the brain works, and it happens all of the time. Now, why am I bringing this up? Why does this matter? Because it's a way that we can actually self-sabotage ourselves when we're trying to do something, when we're trying to get something new done. Often, people will say things like, "Well, I don't know how it's possible," or "I don't think that that's real," or "I'm not sure that that's going to happen," or whatever. And when you start priming yourself with those kinds of phrases, with those kinds of words, with that sort of expectation, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to do things like think about solutions and find another way and look for a different path or see an opportunity, because you've kind of closed down your brain. You've sort of said to yourself, that's not important because it's not real. And yet, if you were to say, well, maybe it's possible, or it is possible and I just need to figure out how, then your brain starts working in your favor. It starts working to help you find what you believe is actually true, what's possible. And when you believe something that's true, then your brain works double time to prove it to you. This is why people can get so out of control about things that are so blatantly obvious to other people, and yet they completely fail to register it or understand it or see it, for lack of a better word, because they just absolutely have already decided that it's not real, it's not true, it's not possible. Not being aware of how your brain works in this way is a real disadvantage, because it means that everything that comes to you, you take at some sort of face value based on programming that you've already had done in your life, beliefs that you've already held, things that you've already decided are true, things that you already believe in. And when you do that, you skew your perception. And when you don't know you're skewing your perception, that's when trouble hits. So you can't control this. I'm not sharing this with you so you can stop your brain from working this way. You can't. This is how your brain works. The solution isn't in trying to stop your brain from doing that. The solution is the awareness in knowing that you're doing it. You're always doing it. You can't help but do it. When you're aware of it, then you can take control of that process, and you can remind yourself, well, what about this might not be true? What am I not seeing because I don't believe it's possible? Where do I might need to shift what I believe is possible in order to be able to see a possibility? How could this really be real? And when you ask yourself questions like that, again, it's easier to be flexible in your thinking. It's easier to find solutions. It's easier to feel empowered. You have a sense of control in what you're doing. because that's really the only control you have. It reminds you of what you have control of, which is super important, because when you realize what you have control of, which is really just you and your brain, and what you're thinking about with your brain, and how you're using your brain. So the more you know how the brain works, the more you can catch it when it starts to do stuff like that, stupid shit, and you're like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, and the next time somebody says that to you, or the next time you find yourself thinking it too, you can just say, well, wait a minute, do I want to believe in this, and why do I think it's not possible, and what about it is possible? Now, there are limits to this, obviously. I can't make the sky purple. I can't make 5 into 6, right? There's reality. Reality is real. We can't dismiss that. But this ability for the brain to see what it's looking for because of what it thinks because it's anticipating something, that's real. That's a real thing too. And so you need to know that your brain is doing that. When your brain is anticipating an outcome, you're going to find something that will justify that outcome, whatever it is that you see. Whether that's a visual thing or a mental thing, it's an idea, it doesn't matter. This can really mess people up if you don't know this. I think this is why it's really important to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that you aspire to be like. Because another person's perspective is really, really important in getting on the other side of this. Someone you trust, someone you rely on, someone you love, someone you care about, someone you admire, definitely someone you trust. And asking that person and growing with that person and learning from that person, whoever it is, helps you to see things that maybe you didn't believe in before. It helps you believe in it so that you can see it. They remind you that your perception isn't actually reality. Your perception is just a simulation of reality. And remembering that is the first step into taking control of how you want to engage with your world, which is the only thing you have control over, is how you choose to engage. Can't control what happens. You can't control what other people do. The only thing you have control over is how you choose to engage. And so learning this and knowing that sometimes you're not going to see something until you believe it first is really powerful. That means, what does that mean? That means you could believe it's possible to go to college and get a degree, even though you don't have it yet. That means you believe it's possible that the job is coming. That means that you believe that, the relationship is going to work. That means you believe you're going to be able to buy the house. You believe you're going to be able to start the job. You believe you're going to have children. All of those things are things that we do all the time that we're not seeing first, but we believe it's possible. Question yourself where you're not seeing those things, where you're not doing that, where you're not visualizing it or seeing it before you actually have the outcome, so that you can believe in it. It's an important thing. It's powerful. It's powerful to know that your brain is doing that. So that's what I wanted to, really talk about today is Wayne Dyer's little phrase. You'll see it when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it. When you know that something is true or possible, then your brain finds ways to make it so. So there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos when they come out. I'm trying to get them out at least once a week. Well, at least a couple times a month anyway. The goal is once a week. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram, Consider Jennifer. And you can also check out my website, considerjennifer.com. I look forward to reaching out having a conversation with you, learning about you, and helping you out in however I can. So thanks so much, and don't forget, every day, be on purpose. Bye, guys.